how's it going everyone? This is Brandon Bias from JujuCheck.com and welcome to an After Effects tutorial on Effects Friday. Whoa, this is kind of a weird week, right? We got Eli doing the Photoshop tutorial, I'm doing the After Effects tutorial. It's almost as if the entire world went insane and is about to explode from the apocalypse or something. Luckily that's not really the case. It's just that I wanted to do today's tutorial. And some of you guys are probably wondering, oh, great and powerful Brandon, what is it that you're going to be trying to teach us today? Well, my young Padawan, let me tell you what's going on here. I'm going to teach you guys how to create that dripping / bleeding animation that you've seen in our introductions lately. Ever since we started releasing tutorials with that intro, there have been a number of you that have been wondering how to create it. And seeing as I'm the one that actually came up with the effect, I thought it would be kind of fitting if it was me that taught you how to do it. And so that's why I wanted to create today's tutorial. I want to point out a thing or two real quick. We're going to be focusing on just this reveal here with the bleeds and whatnot. The reason being is that everything else with this bar that animates in with a whole bunch of masks and whatnot, setting all that up would just take too long to do in addition with all of this, because this effect itself is actually, like, although it's kind of simple, it's very time consuming, and time is of the essence, so let's just keep it down to the bare basics. And also something to point out, this little reveal of the word check it is something that you can learn how to do in one of our previous tutorials by Eli, which is called the minimalist intro. So if you want to check that out, click the annotation on screen or check out the link in the description, blah, 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 whatever works for you. Oh, and one more thing, Eli and I will be live streaming the Destiny beta tonight, so be sure to tune in later today on this channel, or you can find Eli at twitch.tv/lmgood, and you'll be able to join in on the random awesomeness. So that should be it for now. What do you say we get started? So the first thing we want to do is set up this little animation here in Photoshop first. So let's bring up Photoshop and let's make our new document. I'm going to stick with 1920 by 1080 with a transparent background, and let's just call this our dripping logo animation, and we'll click OK. And first up, let's hit Ctrl-0, zoom into canvas size. Let's rename layer 1 as our BG. And the first thing I want to do is set the color for the background. So set your foreground color to 1C, 1C, 1F. It's kind of like this bluish gray color. And we can fill in this background with Alt Backspace or Option Delete. Or if you want to, you can go grab the paint bucket tool and use that as well. So next up, let's create the bar that you saw go across the center of the screen. So let's go grab our rectangle tool. And before we make this, let's actually set up some guides. So let's do View and choose New Guide. And we'll do 50% on the vertical. And we'll do View New Guide again. And do 50% on the horizontal. Click OK. Now we have a nice little crosshair to show us where the center of the document is. Alright, so before, once again, we create our rectangle, we need to set the color of it. So we'll go to the fill, click the little drop down, and we use this color right here. So we're using the color 121314. Nice and simple, pretty straightforward. And now we're going to simply click and drag from the center of this crosshair while holding down the Alt key. And we'll simply just create a shape that we'll just eyeball. It doesn't have to be anything specific. And that's looking pretty good. So I want to go ahead and delete this crosshair now. So to do that, I'll swap over to my Move tool and simply click and drag these guides off canvas so that way they are deleted. Alright, so real quick, let's rename Rectangle 1 as Bar. And now it's time to import our logo. So I'm just going to open up a PSD that I made forever and a half ago. Something that's really important to know here, guys, is that whatever logo you happen to use, it needs to be a vector. Alright, so you can either create some random shape, or you can... I haven't decided if I want to let you guys download our logo, because, let's face it, it's our logo, but I'll figure it out later. Either way, let's... click and drag a logo into the document here. And let's go ahead and scale it down with the transform tool, which is Control or Command T. And let's just make it about, let's do yay big. Hit the check mark or the enter key on your keyboard to commit that transformation. And voila, we have our logo in the middle of the document. Now, seeing as this is indeed a vector logo, we can change the color very easily. So let's swap over to our path selection tool, which you can do by hitting the letter A. And we'll go to the fill, click the little drop down, and we will choose our blue color. And this blue color is the code 00728F. So you can use that if you would like. And here we go. We've got our document pretty much set up. All that's left to do is create those bleeding lines. So to do that, let's swap over to our rounded rectangle tool. And before we create any of these rounded rectangles, make sure your radius is amped up to like 6, 8, or 10 pixels. You know, just something in that that range there. And we're gonna zoom in real quick. By the way, I'm zooming in with my scroll wheel, and if you want to do that yourself, simply open up your options by hitting Control or Command K and turn on zoom with scroll wheel. I usually find it pretty handy to use. So we're going to be adding these drips to our existing vector. So to do that, you need to hold down the Shift key, and that will create a crosshair with a little plus sign next to it. And then you can click and drag, and then let go of Shift. And now we'll just create a bleed about, let's just choose yay big. The one thing you do need to make sure is that it has a width of 4 pixels. And that's kind of the overall width that I like going for. So we'll let go. And it should be added to our existing shape. You should see we only have the one insignia. If you click and drag without holding Shift beforehand, it will start creating all of these new layers, and we don't want that. Alright, so once we have our first drip, what we can do is select it by using our path selection tool, and then while we hold down the Alt key or the Option key, we can click and drag this to create a copy of it. And I'll just move it over about 8 pixels, and voila. Pretty simple. So we want to create a whole bunch of duplicates of this. So you can just click and drag, click and drag, click and drag, blah, blah, blah. However, you'll notice that if all of these are the same size, it's kind of weird and kind of boring. So what I like to do is I will create a copy of one of these, and I'll move it over 8 pixels. And then I can manipulate the size of this by using the direct selection tool. So swap over to that and click and drag to create a selection around either the top or the bottom 3 points. And you can use your arrow keys to move these up or down. And so we'll just kind of go back to one of these, and we'll move that up, and maybe we'll take this one and move it down, you know, things of that nature. And then let's create another one right around here, make that a little bit shorter, and that's basically all you're going to do is you're going to create a whole bunch of different copies of the same line and simply adjust how tall it is, and maybe a little bit of how far it is from the other one. I don't know. It's really up to you. Just create some little bit of randomness here and there, and let's make sure we have all that selected. And just, you know, make sure it looks nice. You know, make sure it's not overly repetitive and things of that nature. And it's mostly just whatever looks best to you. There's no exact science or anything like that. Just do whatever you think is fun, whatever you think looks cool, and just have fun with it. All right. So give me a minute or two, and I'll create all of these bleeds. Alright, so I just finished creating all of the individual drips and bleeds and whatnot, and something that I think I forgot to mention is that while you're creating all of these, you want to consider how much these overlap with the logo. Because remember, when we create these in After Effects, these are going to be cutting out of the logo when we start animating and everything like that. So if you want to create kind of an interesting effect, you might want to go in and just kind of create like a bit of an off balance between some of the different bleeds, both outside and inside of the logo. So you can just go through and tweak a few things just so that way it's interesting both inside and outside of the logo. Alright, so the next thing that we need to do is separate each different piece of this logo into its own layer. So to do that, I'm simply going to use my path selection tool, and I'm going to click and drag a box around some of these, and then I can simply shift click these different bleeds here to select them. So now I should have this entire left hand side selected, and I'm going to cut these and put them into a new layer with the shortcut Control-Shift-J. And so now if I turn this off, you should see that it's all one layer. And so we'll just call this Insignia 1. Alright, so we'll turn that off. We'll go to the Insignia layer, and this time I'll be able to click and drag a box around this entire left hand side, and then once again Control-Shift-J, and we can rename this as Insignia 2. We'll turn that off, and we'll go back, and now we'll select the third one, and this time we'll have to go back and shift click some of these other bleeds here, and let's do Control-Shift-J and make sure we have that as Insignia 3. We'll turn that off, and all that's left is Insignia 4. Alright, so now we have all of these as different pieces, different layers and whatnot, which will make it a lot easier to do some of the animation in After Effects. Alright, so let's go ahead and do File, Save, and I've already saved this document earlier, and so now we want to import this into After Effects for our animation. So let's minimize Photoshop, bring up After Effects here, and inside of the Project tab here, we'll simply double click, or you can hit Control or Command I, and we'll select the dripping logo animation PSD and import that. And we're going to import this as a composition with editable layer styles and click OK. And simply double click, actually let's rename this as animation real quick, and then we'll double click that. And so now we should have everything imported into After Effects. So one thing that you'll notice is that if we select Insignia 1, you'll notice that we have all these different colors and outlines and whatnot. These represent all of the different masks and shapes that we had from the Photoshop document. And if we want to look at these, we need to press the letter M. And we need to do this while being selected down inside of the timeline. So select the Insignia 1, press the letter M, and you'll notice that we have all of the masks here. And I believe this first mask here should be, let's change that to none real quick. There we go. So the very first mask should be the insignia. So just to make sure that I know what this is, I'll select mask 1 and rename this as insignia, and we'll do insignia 1 here. And what we want to do is we want to select every single one of these masks and set it from add to difference. And you'll notice that now wherever these bleeds intersect with the logo, it will kind of cut it out. And that's kind of the effect that we were going for originally. Alright? So, let's go ahead and do the same thing for Insignia 2, Insignia 3, and Insignia 4. Okay, so I went ahead and finished off setting all of the masks to difference instead of add, and now we have the entire logo looking like it's being intersected with all these different bleeds. Alright, now by the way, I don't know if you guys knew this, but if you go to this little kind of lopsided rectangle here, and if you can click that on and off, you'll notice that it toggles the different the outlines of the masks here. So if you want to kind of get a better look at everything without the layer masks, you can click to turn that off, and we'll click on a blank area inside of the timeline here, and that way you can get a slightly better look at the entire document here. So just a quick little tip if you guys want to take a sneak peek at what everything is looking like. Alright, so now the first thing we want to do is do that sort of fill-in animation that we saw before. Well, actually no, I take that back. Let's go ahead and first do the bleed animations. And to do that, we'll go back to Insignia 1. We'll bring up the masks by hitting the letter M here. And just for the time being, let's go ahead and turn off Insignia 2, 3, and 4, so that way we can focus on Insignia 1. Now the way we animate this is kind of backwards. You would normally think that we would have it start off with that little dot and have it drip down. But seeing as we already have the finished drip, we want to use that as our ending keyframe. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. Let's find out where mask 2 is at. We'll change that to none. Okay, so that's this guy right here. And we'll change that back to difference. Okay. So let's put our timeline position somewhere around the middle or something like that. And on mask 2, let's toggle the keyframe here. And we'll simply go back a couple of seconds. And now with our selection tool, let's create a selection around these bottom 3 points, kind of like what we did in the Photoshop document. And let's move these upwards, and I'm going to do this while holding the shift key, so that way it moves a little bit faster. And we're simply going to move this up until we get a round dot shape. Alright, so let me zoom in a little bit, make sure everything is all spick and span here. So we got a nice little ellipse here. And now we've basically created an animation from a dot down to the elongated drip. And now that we have that, we need something for it to kind of come in, because right now it's just there and it just drips. And that's fine, but it's not clean enough for my liking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to where that keyframe is on the timeline, and I'm going to go backwards 8 frames by using the page up key. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright? And now I will select mask 2, and then I will hit Control or Command T. Apparently it only selected the bottom half. So let's create a selection around the entire ellipse here, and then hit Control T or Command T for on a Mac. And we'll click and drag the corners in while holding Control and Shift, and we'll just make it into a minuscule dot, and make sure that it's not affecting the rest of the layer mask here. Make sure that all the colors around it are a nice solid blue. Alright, so hit the enter key to commit the transformation, and now you should notice that it takes those 8 frames to size up to a dot, and then it continues its way down. Okay, so now that we've got this animation where it just kind of drips down set, we want to make it flow a little bit smoother. So go ahead and make a selection around all these keyframes, and right click, go to Keyframe Assistant, and choose Easy Ease, or you can press F9. For some reason, whenever I press F9, it kind of pauses my recording, which I think is a Camtasia feature, which I forgot about, and now I understand why Eli doesn't use the F9 shortcut when he's using his After Effects tutorials. Now I understand, Eli. I know your pain now. How infuriating. Okay, so that was just one bleed. Guess what, guys? You get to do the exact same thing to all of the other bleeds. Now, the only reason we can't copy and paste this exact keyframe to the other ones is because the size and the position of all these are different. They're not in the same spot. So you literally have to go to the next one and click the stopwatch to add a keyframe, go backwards, make your selection, make it go upwards. And I think if you zoom out a little bit, it goes up a little bit faster. There you go. So that goes up a little bit faster when you're zoomed out. And we'll just make sure it's all snug. It's a nice little dot. And then back 8 keyframes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we will make our selection around it, transform it, scale it down into a minuscule speck, hit the enter key, and voila. So basically you get to do this exact same thing for all of the other bleeds. It takes a long time to do, but it's so cool in the end. So what I recommend doing is to simply get the animation down for all of the bleeds and worry about the timing later. So give me a little while and I will go ahead and animate. Alright, so I've finally finished going through and animating all of these, the drips here, and I think I spent about 20 or 25 minutes doing this. I didn't exactly keep track here, so it actually took a little less time than probably the first time around since I actually knew what I was doing this time. And my only advice to you guys for doing this is to make sure that you're going from top to bottom with the animation. Just to make sure that's, you know, dripping downwards instead of upwards. For a second there I accidentally animated it the wrong direction. So just make sure you're going a top to down animation here. And also be sure to save often. That is something that I cannot stress enough, is to save often when you're doing these type of things, because if your computer accidentally crashes, then that's a lot of work down the drain. So save often, and yeah, that should be about it. So now that we have all of the drips animated, it's time to do the fill-in animation, alright? So, let's go ahead and go to our pen tool here, and let's select Insignia 1, and let's zoom out a little bit, and what we're going to do is just make these kind of weird, like, wavy ocean-type shapes. So we'll just kind of go across the top here like so. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy. It just has to, I don't know, be kind of like ocean-like, you know? Something like that. So, we're going to get this kind of filled in shape here, and that's not what we want. So, let's go back down to the timeline, open up the layer masks for Insignia 1, and at the very bottom we should have this new shape here, which will be our, let's call it the fill. And we are also going to set this to difference as well. Actually, sorry, not difference. We're going to change that to subtract. So now, no matter what, we're not going to see any of the animated drips wherever this fill is at. Alright? So how we're going to do this is we are going to add a keyframe to where it is right now. And let's actually go ahead and let's kind of bring it down somewhere like off to the side like this. So now it's down and to the left, and then we're going to animate forward maybe around a second or so, and then we're going to bring this down, and let's do to the right a little ways. All right, and of course let's also do our easy ease keyframes here, and let's just do a quick little preview here to see what it looks like. Alright, so that was a little bit too fast. Let's go ahead and elongate this so that it's, let's make it like 2 seconds instead and see what it looks like. Alright, let it RAM preview so it's in real time. Alright, so that time it looked much better. I like that way. I like that way more. Alright, so basically what we can do now is kind of do a bit of a copy and paste from this layer mask to the other layers. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the fill layer mask, and we'll go back to the beginning of the timeline here, and we're going to Control C to copy that, and let's close Insignia 1 and open up Insignia 2 and do Control V to paste, and so that will put the fill down at the bottom here. And let's make sure that we have the layer mask open here, and let's go ahead and turn off the keyframes by clicking the stopwatch, and this time we'll start off a little bit higher, and we'll do a different portion of, and we'll just move it a little bit more towards the center, I suppose. Actually, let's go the other direction. Why not? Let's just have a little fun with it. So we'll do the layer mask. We'll go to around 2 seconds or so, and then we will move this down and to the left, like so. And once again, we'll do the keyframe easy ease and just see what it looks like. Alright. Now, one thing that will make this look a lot better is if we kind of alternate the timing of it all. So if we just go back to Insignia 1 and we'll bring up the layer masks, and if we change it to where the fill starts a little bit later, we'll get a more interesting effect. So let's just move it forward about half a second or so, and you'll see that the offset makes it look pretty freaking cool. So just a bit of a quick look at what that looks like. We're doing pretty good. So we should still have that that mask copied there. So let's get back our masks here. There we go. So select Insignia 3 and paste in the fill, and let's go ahead and get the masks open here. And this time around, let's have it start a little bit earlier than Insignia 1. We'll do it about a quarter of a second in, and we'll end it around you know, somewhere around 2 or 3 seconds. Actually, we need to turn off that layer mask, or not the layer mask. we need to go and turn off the keyframes for that. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I could not talk for a second. Can you tell that I'm nervous? I'm like talking fast and being crazy. Holy cow. I've been recording for like an hour now. Anyway, so let's go ahead and do, let's start off way over on this corner right here, and we'll start the stopwatch. We'll move forward about 2 or 3 seconds or so, and then we will move this down and to the left once more. Let's move it quite a far ways over here, and once again we will turn these into the easy ease keyframes, and we'll do a RAM preview real quick by hitting the letter, or not the letter, but the number 0 on the number pad, and let's just see what that's looking like. Alright, so that's not too bad looking. Let's go ahead and do Insignia 4 real quick. So we'll paste onto there, and we'll bring up the layer mask, go down to the fill, we'll turn off the stopwatch, and let's start off, let's do it right around, we'll start it off right around here, and let's move this layer mask right, let's try right here. We'll turn on the stopwatch, we'll move forward, and then we'll move it down and to the right this time. And then once again, we will do the keyframe assistant easy ease. And let's just RAM preview this, make sure it's looking all schmazzy and whatnot here. I apparently have that last little insignia pop in a little bit too late. But I like the speed of it. So let's see. So we want it to start. Let's do a little bit sooner here. All right. So just a couple frames sooner, and we should have it right on the money. All right. So that's pretty cool. So, one thing that is left to do that I would recommend you guys to do on your own time is to kind of randomize the starting and ending point of all of these drips. Right now I kind of have it set to where they all roughly start around the same time. And I guess it can be okay if you're not overly picky about it. But what I would prefer to do, if I wanted to put a little bit more time into this, is to kind of decide which one of these bleeds I would want to start first. So for example, like, man, so many of these seem to start at like just about the same time. Let's just grab some of these points and just throw it over here, and simply just kind of take some of these points and make it a little bit more random. And let's just kind of throw these like that, and then let's do something similar on these other three over here. Let's just grab these and throw them over in this general direction, and we'll have some of these animations be like super quick and some of them not so quick. And let's I think I messed up. Oh wait, no, that's the fill down there. Okay, I don't have to worry about that. So anyway, I would just go through and kind of mess with these timings so that way they don't all start at exactly the same time, if that makes sense here. And you know, the goal is to make this like random, but still, you know, a little control over it. You don't want it to be just completely, you know, insane all over the place. You do want to go through and maybe tweak some of the specifics of these. For example, I most likely just made one of these longer, I most likely just made one of these shorter drips appear really slow, and I probably made one of the other drips like really fast. So I would just recommend going through and random previewing the entire thing. Actually, let's swap this down to about half quality, so that way it renders a lot quicker. And so now you should kind of get a better idea of how everything is animating in. And so just with a couple little tweaks here and there, you'll notice that everything already looks a little bit more nice and random, and it just has a nicer appeal to it. So take some time tweaking with timings of keyframes and things of that nature until you get something that you think looks pretty good. You know, just kind of, you know, make it random, have some fun, stuff like that. And I'm going to go ahead and render this out for you guys just because, you know, what the heck, Eli does it, so why can't I, right? So thank you guys for watching this tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below. I do realize that this was my very first After Effects tutorial, and it was kind of a heavy one, so I probably rushed through certain things that I probably shouldn't have. So leave a comment in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed the tutorial, please give it a like. As always, be sure to stick around for the favorite comments at the end of the video. So that's all I have for you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.